What if everything you've been told about your body's limitations was nothing more than a carefully constructed lie? What if the very beliefs keeping you sick, tired, and trapped in an endless cycle of pain were actually the only thing standing between you and complete healing? Has this ever happened to you? You wake up one morning, look in the mirror, and see your father's receding hairline staring back at you, or feel your mother's chronic pain settling into your bones, and you think to yourself, well, this is just who I am. This is my genetic destiny. I used to believe that too. For years, I watched my body deteriorate, hair falling out in clumps, chronic pain radiating through every joint, digestive issues that made every meal a nightmare. I tried everything: medications, supplements, diets, treatments. Some things helped temporarily, but nothing truly changed. I was fighting a losing battle, or so I thought, until I stumbled upon one simple truth that completely shattered everything I believed about healing, about my body, about what was actually possible. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, here's what most people don't understand about the human body, and what the medical establishment doesn't want you to know. Your genetics, those microscopic blueprints that supposedly determine your fate, and aren't the prison sentence you've been led to believe they are. They're not fixed, they're not permanent, they're not your destiny. In fact, they're constantly responding, constantly adapting, constantly changing, based on one critical factor that you have complete control over right now. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. It certainly shocked me when I first learned it. There's actual scientific proof, real laboratory evidence, that your genes can upregulate and downregulate. Think about that for a moment. The very code that's supposed to define you, that's supposed to lock you into patterns of disease and dysfunction, is actually flexible, responsive, alive. It's listening to signals from your environment every single second of every single day. But here's where it gets truly fascinating, and this is the part that changed everything for me. When scientists talk about environment, they're not just talking about the air you breathe or the food you eat. They're talking about something far more powerful, something that exists entirely within your control, something that most people never even consider when they think about healing their bodies. I discovered this truth at my lowest point, when conventional approaches had failed me completely, when I was desperate enough to question everything I thought I knew. And once I understood it, truly understood it at a cellular level, the healing didn't just begin. It happened almost instantly. The chronic pain that had plagued me for years started dissolving. The hair loss reversed. The digestive issues vanished. Not over months or years, but in ways that seemed almost impossible. But what exactly is this truth? What is this environmental signal that your genes are constantly monitoring, constantly responding to? And more importantly, how can you use it right now to begin healing your own body? That's where things get really interesting, because the answer isn't what you think. If this resonated with you, subscribe to the channel. There's so much more we need to explore together about unlocking your body's natural healing intelligence. The environment your genes are responding to isn't your physical surroundings. It's something far more intimate, far more immediate, and infinitely more powerful. It's the environment you create inside your own mind. And this is where most people unknowingly sabotage their own healing before it even begins. Think about the internal dialogue that runs through your head every single day. My dad went bald at 30, so I'm next. Diabetes runs in my family, it's only a matter of time. Everyone on my mother's side has had cancer. These aren't just passing thoughts. They're not harmless observations about family patterns. They're actually instructions, commands that you're sending directly to your cells, programming them to fulfill exactly what you fear most. The irony is devastating when you truly understand it. The very fear of inheriting a disease becomes the mechanism that activates it. This isn't mystical thinking or positive psychology dressed up in scientific language. This is hard science, proven in laboratories around the world through the field of epigenetics. The breakthrough came when researchers discovered that genes aren't these rigid, unchangeable codes locked away in your DNA. They're dynamic, responsive, constantly reading signals from their environment and deciding whether to turn on or turn off, to upregulate or downregulate. But here's the revelation that changes everything. When scientists talk about environment in epigenetics, they're not primarily talking about toxins in your water or nutrients in your food. They're talking about the biochemical cascade triggered by your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotional state, your state of being, that nebulous combination of what you think, what you feel, what you believe about yourself and your body, is constantly broadcasting signals to every cell in your body. When you live in fear of your genetic inheritance, when you accept family medical history as your predetermined fate, you're literally bathing your cells in stress hormones, in cortisol, in the chemical signature of danger and threat, and your genes, being the responsive, adaptable entities they actually are, read that signal and respond accordingly. They activate protective mechanisms, they shut down healing processes, they express exactly the patterns you were so afraid of inheriting. The transformation happens the moment you recognize this hidden truth, that you're not a passive victim of some genetic lottery. You're an active participant in determining which genes express and which remain dormant. Every thought you think, every belief you hold, every emotional state you inhabit is sending precise instructions to your cellular machinery. This is the impact of understanding epigenetics at a practical level. It's not about denying that certain genetic predispositions exist. It's about recognizing that predisposition is not predestination. The journey from genetic potential to actual manifestation requires environmental triggers, and the most powerful environmental trigger is the one you control completely, the internal landscape of your mind and emotions. Now, I want to go even deeper into this, because understanding the science is one thing, but actually applying it to create real healing in your body is something entirely different. There's a specific mechanism, a precise process that allows you to access and reprogram these genetic expressions, and it's simpler than you might imagine. Write in the comments, "I'm breaking free from genetic fear." Here's what they don't teach you in biology class, but it's perhaps the most empowering revelation you'll ever encounter about your own body. Every cell in your body has a nucleus, the command center where your genetic material lives. For decades, scientists believed this nucleus was the brain of the cell, the ultimate authority making all the decisions. But that understanding was fundamentally incomplete, and the missing piece changes everything about how we approach healing. The real intelligence of the cell doesn't reside solely in the nucleus. It lives in the cell membrane, that outer boundary that interfaces with the world beyond. Embedded in this membrane are thousands of receptor proteins, sophisticated antennae constantly scanning the environment, reading signals, gathering information. These receptors are like sensory organs, detecting everything from hormones to neurotransmitters to the chemical signatures of your emotional states. And here's the critical part. These receptors take that environmental information and feed it directly to the nucleus, which then makes decisions about which genes to activate and which to suppress. This discovery fundamentally shifts the paradigm of cellular biology. The nucleus isn't the boss giving orders. It's more like a vast library of possibilities. And the cell membrane is the librarian deciding which books to pull from the shelves based on what's happening outside. When your body detects stress, fear, or danger through these membrane receptors, the nucleus responds by activating genes associated with survival and protection. When it detects safety, peace, and balance, it activates genes associated with growth, repair, and regeneration. If this video opens something up for you, hit that like button. It helps this message reach others who are still searching for answers in all the wrong places. Understanding this mechanism reveals a profound truth about the nature of healing and the relationship you have with your own biology. You are not a passenger in your body, helplessly watching genetic fate unfold. You are the master, the captain of this incredibly sophisticated vessel. Every decision you make about how you respond to life, every thought pattern you allow to dominate your consciousness, every emotional state you inhabit, these aren't just psychological experiences happening in some abstract realm separate from your physical health. They're concrete, measurable signals being broadcast to every cell, influencing genetic expression in real time. This mastery extends far beyond just preventing hereditary diseases. The genes controlling your immune system, your T cells that identify and destroy threats, your white blood cells that defend against infection, your healing cells that repair tissue damage, all of these are subject to the same environmental signaling. When you achieve inner balance, When you create an internal environment of safety and coherence, these healing mechanisms don't just function normally, they optimize. They work with an efficiency that can seem almost miraculous because we're so accustomed to bodies operating in states of chronic stress and imbalance. The transformation happens through this hidden truth that the power you've been searching for in medications, that supplements and external interventions, has been inside you all along, waiting to be activated through the simple act of changing your internal environment. This isn't about denying the value of medical treatment. It's about recognizing that your body possesses healing intelligence far beyond what most people realize. And accessing it requires learning a language your cells already speak fluently. But recognizing you're the master is only the beginning of this journey. The real question becomes practical and immediate. How exactly do you communicate with your cells? How do you send the right signals that activate healing rather than protection? Drop a comment if this revelation is shifting something inside you right now. Think about something as simple as moving your arm right now. It doesn't just happen randomly. Your leg doesn't suddenly decide to walk you across the room without your conscious decision. Every voluntary movement in your body requires a command from you, an instruction that travels from your mind through your nervous system to your muscles. This isn't a metaphor or spiritual concept. It's basic physiology. Your body doesn't act unless acted upon. And if this principle holds true for your muscles, why wouldn't it apply to the deeper processes happening at the cellular level? This realization fundamentally changed how I approached my own healing. I stopped seeing myself as a victim of biological processes beyond my control and started recognizing that I could actually command my cells, direct them, instruct them in the same way I instruct my hand to pick up a glass of water. The language is different, the mechanism is subtler. But the principle remains identical. You are the captain of this ship, and your cells are waiting for clear instructions about what to do. But here's where most people get tripped up, and this is crucial to understand. When they hear about the power of mindset and intention in healing, they immediately start trying to force positive emotions. They wake up every morning trying to manufacture gratitude they don't genuinely feel. They paste fake smiles on their faces while their internal world is screaming with anxiety and fear. They try to think their way into happiness while their nervous system is locked in a state of survival mode. And then they wonder why nothing changes, why the healing doesn't come, why their bodies remain stuck in the same patterns. The hidden truth behind cellular communication isn't about achieving some perfect emotional state or maintaining constant positivity. That's exhausting, unsustainable, and ultimately counterproductive. What your cells actually need, what they're constantly searching for, is safety. Not perfection, not euphoria, just basic fundamental safety. When you live in chronic states of fear, uncertainty, worry, shame, or those insidious not enough thoughts that plague so many of us, you're sending a very specific signal to your cellular receptors. That signal says danger, threat, survival mode activated. And when survival mode is activated, your body makes an intelligent decision based on the information it's receiving. It shuts down non-essential processes like growth, repair, and regeneration. It redirects energy toward immediate protection. Your genes respond by expressing protective patterns rather than healing patterns. This isn't a malfunction. It's your body doing exactly what it's designed to do when it perceives danger. The problem is that for most people, this perceived danger isn't a momentary threat. It's a constant background hum of anxiety and fear that never gets resolved. The transformation in my own body began not when I learned to force gratitude or manufacture positive emotions, but when I learned to simply make my response to the environment less reactive, less scared, when I stopped catastrophizing every sensation in my body, when I questioned the stories I was telling myself about my genetic destiny, when I consciously chose to interpret neutral events in ways that didn't trigger my nervous system into panic mode. This shift didn't require perfection. It required awareness and the willingness to make different decisions about how I related to my own experience. The impact of this approach becomes visible remarkably quickly because you're working with your body's natural intelligence rather than fighting against it. But there's a specific gateway, a particular state of being, where this cellular communication becomes most effective and powerful. Write in the comments, I choose safety over fear. There's something profound we can learn from watching animals in the wild, something that humans have largely forgotten in our modern existence. When a gazelle is being chased by a predator, it runs with every ounce of energy it possesses. Its entire system floods with adrenaline, cortisol, every stress hormone designed for survival. It's pure, undiluted terror channeled into movement. But here's what happens immediately after the chase ends, assuming the gazelle escapes. It doesn't carry that trauma forward. It doesn't ruminate about the experience for hours or days. Instead, it physically shakes, literally trembling to discharge the accumulated stress energy from its nervous system. Then, within minutes, it returns to grazing, drinking water, existing in a state of calm presence. The threat has passed, and the body knows how to let it go. Humans have lost this instinctive wisdom. We experience a stressful event, an argument, a financial worry, a health scare, and instead of allowing our nervous systems to complete the stress cycle and return to baseline, we replay it mentally. We construct elaborate narratives around it. We carry it with us for days, weeks, sometimes years. Our bodies never receive the signal that the danger has passed, so they remain locked in protective mode, constantly scanning for threats, never fully returning to the state where healing becomes possible. The journey back to this natural capacity for release is simpler than most people realize, but it requires understanding how to access a particular state of consciousness that exists beyond your everyday waking awareness. Your conscious mind, the part of you reading these words right now and thinking about what they mean, controls only a tiny fraction of what's happening in your body. It's like the tip of an iceberg. Below the surface lies your subconscious mind, the vast intelligence running every automatic process keeping you alive, pumping your heart, digesting your food, regulating your temperature, and yes, deciding which genes to express and which to keep dormant. This subconscious realm is where the real transformation happens. It's the control center, the place where your cellular programming gets written and rewritten. But here's the challenge. You can't access it through normal waking consciousness. You can't think your way into it or force entry through willpower. The gateway opens in a very specific state, one that exists right at the border between waking and sleeping. It's that drowsy twilight zone where your body becomes deeply relaxed, your muscles go slack, your breathing slows and deepens, but your mind remains aware and present. Scientists call this the alpha state, a particular brainwave frequency where the barrier between conscious and subconscious becomes permeable. In this state, something remarkable happens. The defensive filters that normally protect your subconscious programming from random thoughts temporarily dissolve. The critical faculty that says, "That's impossible," or "That's not who I am," goes quiet. And suddenly, you have direct access to the very machinery that controls your genetic expression, your healing processes, your entire biological destiny. This is the hidden truth that ancient traditions understood intuitively, and modern neuroscience is now confirming through brain imaging and measurement. The impact of learning to enter this state deliberately cannot be overstated. It's not meditation in the traditional sense, though meditation can lead you there. It's not sleep, though it borrows sleep's relaxed quality. It's a precise threshold state where conscious intention meets subconscious receptivity. And in that meeting, a profound reprogramming becomes possible. Put in the comments, "I'm accessing my healing state." Once you learn to enter this alpha state, this threshold between conscious awareness and subconscious programming, something that seemed ineffective suddenly becomes extraordinarily powerful. Affirmations, those statements that feel hollow and fake when you're trying to force them from your normal waking consciousness, transform into precise instructions that your subconscious readily accepts and implements. The difference isn't in the words themselves. The difference is in the state from which you're delivering them. When I first tried affirmations years ago, they felt ridiculous. Standing in front of a mirror, telling myself, "I am perfectly healthy," while looking at visible evidence of my declining health, created cognitive dissonance so intense it actually reinforced the problem. My conscious mind immediately rejected the statement as false. And that rejection became another layer of programming, telling my cells that healing wasn't happening. But when I learned to deliver these same statements from the alpha state, from that place of deep relaxation where the critical faculty goes quiet, everything shifted. In this relaxed state, simple phrases like, "divine health and harmony flows through me," or "my cells work perfectly," aren't aspirational hopes you're trying to convince yourself of. They become commands, instructions being fed directly into the programming center of your biological computer. There's no resistance because there's no conscious judgment evaluating whether the statement is currently true. You're bypassing that analytical layer entirely and speaking directly to the part of your mind that controls cellular function. These aren't forced declarations shouted against internal doubt. They're quiet claims made from a place of deep peace and fundamental safety. The transformation deepens when you begin integrating this practice into ordinary moments throughout your day. This is where the real reprogramming happens, where a new identity starts to take shape at the cellular level. When I would wash my hair, I stopped the anxious scanning for thinning spots and instead, from a place of calm presence, would simply state, "I love every hair on this beautiful head of mine," not desperately trying to manifest more hair. It's not forcing gratitude I didn't feel, just claiming a truth from a peaceful state, allowing my cells to receive that information without the static of fear and doubt. The same principle applied to eating. Instead of the anxiety-ridden calculations about whether this food would hurt or help, whether it would trigger inflammation or digestive distress, I would pause before meals and from a centered state affirm, "This food is so good for me. My body loves it and responds well to it." And something remarkable happened. The same foods that previously caused problems stopped causing them, not because the food changed, but because my cellular response to the food changed based on the signal I was sending. This is the hidden revelation about identity and healing that most people miss. You're not trying to become a different person. You're not attempting to manifest some idealized future version of yourself. You're simply remembering and claiming a truth that already exists at a deeper level, that your body knows how to heal, that your cells possess intelligence beyond your conscious understanding, that wellness is your natural state, when fear and resistance aren't blocking it. The journey isn't about forcing transformation through willpower. It's about removing the obstacles you've unconsciously placed in the path of your body's innate healing capacity. But understanding the mechanism and actually implementing it consistently are two very different challenges. And there's a specific rhythm, a particular approach that makes this sustainable, rather than just another technique you try for a few days and abandon. Type below, "I'm creating my new identity." If you've made it this far, something in this message resonated with you at a deeper level than just intellectual curiosity. You felt it, didn't you? That subtle shift in perspective, that recognition that maybe, just maybe, you have more control over your healing than you've been led to believe. That recognition is your body already responding to this new information, your cells already beginning to reorganize around this different understanding of what's possible. I create content like this because I know how isolating it feels to be trapped in a body that seems to be working against you, how exhausting it becomes to keep searching for answers in systems that only offer temporary relief. If this video gave you even a glimpse of a different path forward, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to explore together. Practical techniques, deeper revelations, the behind-the-scenes truth about how your body actually works when you stop fighting it and start working with its natural intelligence. And if you're someone who stayed until the very end, drop a comment saying, "This message was meant for me." I read every single one, and there's something powerful about declaring your intention publicly, about claiming your place among others who are on this same journey of transformation. If this shifted something for you, hit that like button. It helps this reach others who are still suffering, still searching, still believing they're slaves to their genetics when the truth is so much more empowering. There's a video right here that goes even deeper into the practical application of everything we just discussed, the exact techniques, the daily rhythm, the specific practices that make this sustainable. Click and continue with me over there, because what you've learned today is just the beginning of what becomes possible when you truly understand your body's healing language.